1.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to People Add Value Experience. I am exceptionally excited. Today we have a very unique person on the podcast, as most of them are. Emily, last name changed?
Little.
Yes. I almost said day. Almost.
I still
so close.
get caught. It's a little.
So close. Sorry about that. So
Yeah.
I worked with her dad for a little bit. Coach Day. That's sort of just how it goes. I mean,
Yeah.
First name. Anyways, Dave. But today, so she is a teacher. So as they say in the South, God bless her.
Very.
God bless her. Yep.
Thank you.
And as well as she owns her own side business. So she is an art teacher, and her side business is painting. And you know, while there's some more traditional, larger ones you may have heard of, she has her own unique company. And I'll let her go ahead and tell everyone listening a little bit about herself and her company, just the sort of generic side of the house, very brief, 90 seconds.
Okay.
And then we're going to dive into your background and how you got to where you are today. So first off, please, tell us, hey, your name and all that fun stuff.
Okay. So my name is Emily Little. I got married 2 years ago, coming up on New Year's Eve. So I think that's something like a quick side bit people don't tell you about. Like for 28 years of my life, I go by this last name, and changing it, I was exceptionally excited to do, but I forget sometimes. So yes, I live over in Santa Rosa Beach, and I am an art teacher at a private school called Ohana. And I also own my own small business called The Traveling Painter. So I do it during the day with students, kindergarten through 6, teach art lessons, activities. I am a co-art teacher there. And then at night and on weekends and holidays, I do kind of like paint and sip style events all over the area. So
wait, I've never heard. Did you say co-teacher painting?
Yes. So
how does that work?
I work part-time this year. So I go in every day from 10 to 2, and I am a co-teacher. So there's a, we're second or kind of dual art teaching, kindergarten through 6th grade. So, her name is Sunny, and she's amazing.
Very cool.
So she's there all day, and then I come in 10 to 2, and we, tackle kindergarten through 6th grade art together.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So the co-teaching 10 to 2, and then at night you do your traveling painting.
Yeah.
So, did you actually grow up in this area? So you're from?
Yeah. So I moved here when I was 7. So
Niceville, Florida.
Yeah, Niceville. And my parents still live here, and so I went to Plu when I moved. Yep. And then for a couple years went to Blue Water once we shifted to Blue Water Bay. Then Ruckle Middle School, Niceville. I graduated, and then I went to UCF in Orlando. And then I came back and taught for 4 years at Niceville.
Wow.
Yeah. I tried to leave, and I just keep coming back.
Great place, isn't it?
I know.
It is. It
really is.
It is a great place. So that's interesting. I read about the UCF, and then FSU. Everyone's doing very interesting year in football and college football this year.
Yes.
So with the teaching now at the private institute or whatever, that's I didn't even know that existed. There was a private.
Yeah. So Letty is one of the founder, and she started homeschooling her daughter. So it started really small as kind of like a group of kids just right around her in her neighborhood, and then it's grown so large, and now it's a whole K through 12 school.
Wow.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it's right over in Inlet Beach. It's in actually kind of hidden behind 30 Avenue, the shopping center. So we kind of take up that whole back building over there. And so we do a lot of cool different electives, like robotics, debate, art, theater.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is my 2nd year there. And it's been really, really awesome.
So the 10 to 2 is that considered part? What would be like full 8 to 4 or whatever?
Yeah. So I guess 8 to 3, or it's like 8 to 3:30 would be full time. So with my small business, it kind of picked up, and so they were really gracious in allowing me to still stay on part-time.
That's great.
And yeah, so I still get the benefit of working with the kids and then still have time kind of like for my mental health. It was a lot doing both last
Yeah.
year, just tiring. And so it really worked out pretty perfectly to be able to still kind of keep doing both.
Great. So I'm curious, going back a little bit, growing up in the local community, at what point did you say, hey, I like art? Like when did that happen in your life?
Oh, she would love to know this, and she is deservedly so. Kim Nihill Taylor was my art teacher in high school, and I absolutely loved her class. I was in it all 4 years. I had really great friends, but she was just like a phenomenal teacher, and I learned a lot. And then once I went to college, had no idea what I wanted to do. I like changed my major like 7 times. And so I don't know, I just kind of kept going back to it. I took like a drawing class once a semester, at least some art related class. And then when I graduated, this like opportunity came up. So I did everything required to become a teacher in Florida, which at the time was very difficult. There were a lot of, which is good, but like it was a lot of courses just to kind of set you up for success. And so once I did those, I just loved it. I love working with really people of any age. I really just like when they are interested in art. And if I can set up an environment where they like it or they can get something out of it, that's why I really enjoy doing it.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's great. It's funny because like, I think people get their passions ignited in different places. And sometimes their passion is merely a side hustle or hobby.
Yeah.
And then some people have the opportunity to like live their passion every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's sort of like twofold from what I'm hearing for you. So you get to do it like pretty much all day long.
Spoiled, really.
Yeah.
I don't know how it worked out so well. And going back to like trying to leave Niceville and come back, I don't know that it would have grown like my small business in such a way anywhere else. Cause I feel like people in the community are the ones that let me start doing it at their businesses and buying things from me as commissions to where, when I lived in Miami for a couple of years during the pandemic, it was rough a little. It was just a lot was shut down.
I like how you're trying to find a word. You're like,
it was eye-opening kind of like I talked about going to this big city and I'd love it. And pandemic aside, like it's a little bit lonely with as many people. And my husband had like really odd hours and I didn't know anyone in Miami.
Oh, wow.
And so I think it made me even more realize that I love this area and I feel super cozy. And I think Traveling Painter has been able to grow because of that. So yeah, I feel really lucky to be able to do both. And not everyone gets to do that. So
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So did you get I know the answer, but did you get your degree in art?
Oh, so my undergrad, no, I changed it. Like I said, like,
7 times.
Cinema studies, I can't even think. So I ended up doing marketing, my bachelor's of science in marketing communications. Cause I'm like, it's vague, or not vague, but hopefully I could do a lot with it.
Yeah.
And still I went back and I like the idea of doing events and letting something grow. And I was on involved in UCF marketing as my undergrad. I was a communications manager where we set up a lot of events at the student union and I loved it. Like decorating for it, promoting it, seeing how many people come and attend is super gratifying. And like, I feel like it's just a really good reflection of like all of your effort. So I wanted to do something in that realm, like creative, but work with a lot of people. So that's why teaching really did interest me so much when the opportunity came up. Not that it hasn't been like, I've learned so much from it. Like I've grown a lot from my first year, but that's kind of what I wanted to do. Something art related was my goal when I did my undergrad.
Right.
It took me a while. I loved college.
Nothing like an 8-year bachelor's.
You know. Well, to be honest, I broke my arm ice skating really bad, like in 3 places my junior year. And it put me back a semester because I had to like withdraw a couple of classes. It was like right around finals. I had to have surgery on it. So I blame that, for my extra year.
We won't tell anybody. It's okay.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That's what I blame.
So you did the marketing. I am curious though. You said that there was an opportunity arose, and that's why you chose to not find a job in marketing because
Oh,
something came up from like networking or communications that said, "Hey, there's this position."
yeah.
So you're like, well, and I can sort of take my love from the past and just sort of jump and skip past the marketing woes of trying to find a job, if you will, and just go right into art. Is that sort of what
Yeah.
happened?
I had a job offer oddly at the there's like this large Crayola store to do their marketing down there in Orlando, and it actually was like a very cool opportunity. But when I just came home for a random weekend, I ran into Kim, and she was like, she'd just gotten promoted and was talking, and my dad was there, and so we just kind of talked about it, kind of not like joking, but
Yeah.
like how weird would that be to like go back to the classroom that I did, and it was wild. I was like 22 or 23 as my first year, and I was so scared. But it really was awesome. I felt once again like safe. A lot of my old teachers were there, so
Wow.
yeah, it was really cool. They were so helpful, and so yeah, I mean, it was really unexpected, but I just decided it was a big thing. Like, do I stay in Orlando because I loved Orlando? But it just worked out to come back here. And I stayed with my parents for a couple of months, and I was like, all right, well, gotta find a place.
Right.
'Cause, yeah. Once
Wow.
I graduated, I was like, I think I'm gonna be here for a little bit.
So I have two different topics that are going to have different questions, but I'm
Okay.
going to start with the art before I talk about teaching or ask
Okay.
about teaching, I should say. So what is your favorite medium
Oh,
in art?
I think painting, acrylic specifically. I'm getting a little bit more into watercolor, but I think painting for sure.
Like canvas, organic
Oh.
backgrounds,
Oh.
houses, walls, windows.
Oh, my favorite, but probably least practical for the moment, would be recycled forms of painting. I took like a whole class during my master's program on upcycled, like reusable earthwork art,
Mhm.
and I loved it. And so I love like taking things that already exist, painting onto them. But I've kind of experimented with a lot. I guess most common canvas.
Mhm.
I feel really comfortable working with the material and that kind of thing. But I'll try any surface once and see how it goes.
So I have probably two of the hardest questions you're going to have to answer all day. Are you
Okay.
ready? Okay. What is your favorite color?
Oh, probably. Oh, this is so hard. I'd say probably red.
Okay, red.
Yeah.
Okay. Secondary question or second question is who's your favorite artist?
Oh, that is so easy.
Oh, sorry. Darn it.
Okay, I shouldn't say that to all the others. I guess I'll say two. I did my master's thesis on Helen Frankenthaler. She is a rock star artist, abstract expressionist. And she was just awesome. Like the scale, the size, everything. She and this other group of women around the time of like, kind of like Jackson Pollock, where a lot of the guys are getting a lot of the glory. These like really fierce women were just like, we can do that too. So I think from her personality, Helen, but Jean-Michel Basquiat is like a contemporary 80s artist, and he's grown. Unfortunately, he passed away in the 80s, but his artwork has grown. I mean, so valuable today, but he was just awesome. He promoted like fought for a lot of like social injustice. He was part of like a lot of the art in the Harlem Renaissance movement.
Oh, wow.
So those are my top two for sure.
That's
Artists.
great.
Yeah.
So from a stylistic standpoint, like when you're painting, do you like realism, expression, pointillism? Like what kind of, as far as that goes, styling?
I really like abstract visually art just because so many people are like questioning it. I kind of like that someone is just doing whatever they want, and it maybe is like very subjective and everyone kind of sees something different. I'm most probably envious of realist painters because that's probably my weakest area. So I'm probably most in awe or inspired by like more realistic painting, but my style is kind of like funky, abstract, stylized.
Here's the plug, right, for the future. And I don't know if you had the opportunity to listen to my latest one, but we talked a lot with my buddy Logan Campbell about how AI is affecting his business, complementing it more than anything else, right? And there's two sides of the AI. There's the automation of processes that you can do, and then there's there's not two, there's multiple. There's the machine learning, deep learning, all these fun things that AI is doing. How have you felt in the art world and arena? And I'm going to call it business industry because it technically is on both sides of the fence, right? Whether that's teaching or also your side hustle. How have you felt that AI is going to affect you, sort of, I guess, a pro and con from the instance, or maybe they're both pros? How have you seen it so far for you?
I guess maybe more from like not directly toward me, but like just in general, like in the art world. I think it could be good in terms of like the sharing and expression and like maybe like altering of art with AI can just faster replications can be done. I guess maybe the con could be like, is it too digital? Is it too like, not me? I love the idea of like hand painting everything. Like, I think it goes back to even like the Cricut, like something like I love to hand write and create and stuff like that. So I guess maybe that sense, just maybe feeling like everything could be taken too fast, but is that a bad thing? I don't know. Like, I think the exposure and art can do so much with AI that I haven't seen it be negatively affected too much, I guess, so far.
Yeah, it's funny. So I've talked to two different graphic artists, right? Which is a little bit different, right? Because a lot of the stuff they do is digital. They create digitally. And they're like, oh, I'm going to be out of a job and blah, blah. And I said, listen, this is your time to get smart on it. This is the time to learn about it and complement and strengthen what you already know.
Because it's going to happen.
It's already there. It's already there.
Yeah, exactly.
So an example, pardon me, I was watching something and it's this, and I talked a little bit about this previously, is you can use two things. So there's ChatGPT and then there's Bard, which is the Google version.
Yep.
You can ask it or tell it, depending if it's listening to us right now or not. Okay. Hey, give me a 500,000, 2,000 word description of, I always use the example because I saw it like a video on a pirate, a hyper realistic pirate with whatever background setting, so on and so forth, right?
Okay.
So it takes that, spits out a 2,000 word descriptive whatever of what you just sort of based it to do. And you tell it at the end, like, do it for Mind Journey or one of the other myriad of other AIs out there that deal with graphics. And you copy and paste it into the AI Mind Journey or whatever else, and it will spit out some of the most phenomenal, hyper realistic stuff you've ever seen in your entire life. Now, here's the side that I think that people really need to look into is from a computer graphics standpoint, a graphic designer is, I could right now go in and do that same thing and go, but I own a taco truck.
Yeah.
So I want to do, hey, send me create me something with a turtle eating a taco with a beach background and two umbrellas and people or something. Right. But give me 1,000 words. Boom, put it in there. Spits it out. Okay. Create an advertisement for that in 4 variations. Now I don't have to worry about paying a graphic artist. I don't have to worry about anything else. I've done this all myself and it's free. Yeah. Right. And I go out there and I use it. And if I ever want a variety of changing colors, I go back in and use that same thing and say, change these colors or change these words or add words to it or whatever else. And I'm like, that's great. But like, so graphic artists can go, okay, cool. I can create this and be like, okay, enhance this, add 2 turtles in the background, do whatever else. Right. So you can take a creation and then complement that and be able to provide that or have an awareness. And like, this is the part, right? The marketing is how can you market yourself saying, I use AI to enhance whatever you have and make it more realistic. Because I will tell you, there's some really funny stuff. If you've seen it out there, somebody posted on the Facebook was, it was like Marines eating crayons.
Oh my gosh.
So that's like a thing, right? In the military, it's a joke.
Oh,
right?
okay.
It's like they eat crayons. But
I've never heard that.
If you, it's
funny.
If you expand it, their fingers are all weird and pointed. Most of their eyes are crossed because it was digitally made, right? It wasn't made for that. So it's like, hey, I can take some pictures of your building, take some pictures of whatever that, and then use AI to enhance it and give you like a really good graphic, right? That might be something better than you can do on your own. Yeah. So take that and complement it and run with it. Right. So, but it's interesting from your eyes and your perspective, like you said, is maybe that doesn't fit as well in the abstract side.
Right. That I could see that. And I mean, I think even in general, I wish even in college, I took kind of more digital classes because we're just already there and existing in that world, because it only helps you. I think like even I have a projector sometimes to help me with proportion or like, just certain thing. My iPad can measure out certain things for me and it only makes my artwork, I think, look more successful. So it is just a nice blending of both things and making sure it's still your own voice, but kind of using those tools to help, use your voice, I think is a good thing.
Here's my transition from art to teacher, but using a transitional. When do you think it would be necessary for people that are interested in art to start learning that? 5th grade, 6th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, college. What do you think?
Like anything digital?
Well,
or just
digital and AI usage.
Oh my gosh. So I teach, like I said, kindergarten through 6th grade, and I have some 4th grade students that are creating their own video game just like for fun. And they already are so familiar with, of course, I'm not going to be able to remember the program, but
Sure.
it was like they are building this game, and it's just like, I don't play video games. Like Super Nintendo is like really my extent, but
Yeah, sweet.
I'm fascinated. Like, and I think they are already 8 at that point, and they can start picking it up, and they would prefer that over, like handwriting anything, because they're so good on the computer already.
Right.
So I think elementary school is not too soon at all, and will only benefit them to kind of start early on that. I wish I had.
Yeah, I get it. I think like the AI would have a little bit more structure and parenting or supervision, just depending on again if it's at home or not.
Yes,
because you can get carried away very quickly with that kind of stuff. Even though, and I don't, it's funny if you've watched it, and we've talked, like everyone I've ever talked about AI, like Elon Musk, and I forgot the president of Google who's dealing with the AI. They're both like very big into like, hey, we need some kind of structure and stuff, because this can get out of control really quick.
So wild.
And it's already there. But I mean, if you think about in our future right now, right, you have everything global, and then you have, whatever kind of conflicts occurring at whatever time, you have AI and you have quantum computing, and that merriment and going on in the future. I mean, it's some pretty legit crazy stuff.
Literally crazy.
Yes.
And I mean, impressive too. I'm in shock just to watch certain things happen. And I just want to learn more about it, because that is something that like is very new to me even still. So just reading about it, let alone incorporating it.
What do you think about the technology that people can take pictures of art and it tells you what it is and who did it and all that stuff?
Like Google search images. Yeah. Like even their growth in, I feel like probably like a year, and like you can take a picture of something and then other compliments will just pop up, and like, it's wild. And I actually do love that, because I think I love art history. I'm such a nerd about it, but like, it's wild what they did without any technology. And I think realizing that is what in itself so impressive. And then digital AI can just help people learn about it more, and in an interactive and interesting way. So I think that's pretty unbelievable.
Now, have you ever been to the Louvre?
Yes.
What did you think?
So overwhelming. I went with my mom, who was such a trooper, because I make her go anytime. I took her to London, New York with me, and I spend out. Like, I'm a dayer. Like, I'll spend all day. And so I only got to go to like 2 out of the 4. And I think my mom is someone that didn't study, I guess, maybe like I was a nerd about like Byzantine or like, ancient Roman stuff. She goes, I kind of feel like we've seen this guy a couple times, So from my standpoint, it was very cool. Very like intricately set up, and I would love to go back and like do the other half, but
you almost need like a week, right?
Oh, I mean, my favorite my favorite exhibit I've ever been to was recently out in LA. My sister just moved there, and we went to the Basquiat. Like, his family put on this exhibit in kind of like an abandoned building, but they set it all up, and it was so interactive. Those are like my favorite kind, where you can like see where they worked, or like seen some of their in progress photos and that kind of thing. So maybe the Louvre, I guess. I would never say overrated in my life.
Yeah.
But you got to like check it off your bucket list. But I kind of like those small genre focused exhibits in museums. But I mean, I'll never not get tired of going to the Louvre for sure.
Did you go? So in London, there's the one in, is it Trafalgar? I can't say the word, Trafalgar Square. I'm not saying, oh my gosh, all my friends are going to crush me. It's with the 2, I might be getting all this wrong, but it's 2 big lions. And I think there's the statue. But then like right behind it's that giant museum with the stairs that go up like
I think
forever.
that's the portrait gallery.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like there's the 4 lions in the front.
Yeah, they have like the 3-story type paintings.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, because you'll see a picture of it, you're like, okay, and then you go see it in person, you're like, holy
and like how
cow.
they built it. I mean, like, and these were done like in 1200s, 1500s, and like the scale, the precision on the realism is like I will never get tired of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to go to London a couple times. It's like one of my favorite cities ever. And I went as part of like an EF tour type thing with my mom and some of my teacher friends from Niceville. And it was awesome. But I made my mom go to like the Tate Modern, the British Museum, National Gallery. We went to like this small, like private collection one where like the swing, like Fragonard's swing was there. It was really cool. So she was definitely a trooper that day.
Yeah.
A lot of walking.
Excuse me. There's two of my favorite paintings ever is, and I'm trying to remember, this is bad. They're my favorite. And I don't remember the name of them.
Oh, that happens to me all the time.
It's not The Lady in the Lake, but it has to do, I think it was from one of Shakespeare's plays. Is it Lady Ophelia kills herself in the river?
Okay.
And she's painted and she's laying in the river, like with her head back, and there's flowers along her arms. I don't know why. That one strikes me. It's crazy. And then my other favorite one, I actually wrote like a paper on it for one of my classes. And again, don't remember the name, but it's from a perspective of a lady looking. So she's at a bar and she's looking, there's a bar top, she's looking, and most of the painting is a mirror and reflection of everybody sitting in the bar.
Oh, I love that kind.
And there's a guy with a top hat, and he's sort of the main figure outside of this girl. So sitting like the girl's center of our, I'd say a third to the right of the painting, if you will. The guy's like an eighth to the right. And like I said, you can see him sort of looking into the mirror from his back of his head perspective, and then the mirror's reflection. But then the majority, 78% of the painting is all the people in the back. And it's that, I don't remember if it was Monet or not. Oh, I'm so bad. This is terrible. You're going to strike me down.
Oh,
you get a C in your class. C, Schleif. That's what it is.
Absolutely not.
But those are my two favorite. I was very fortunate. So I lived in a town called Newmarket in England. I lived there 3 years. So I was 20 minutes from Cambridge, and I could just go to London.
I mean, so jealous.
Not too far. But Cambridge had this amazing museum you could go in, and they had some like Van Gogh, like sketches and Michelangelo, just little ones. Do you know who Rubens is? I'm not saying it right, am I?
Peter Paul Rubens?
Is that it? That sounds right. It's an artist. So he painted it. It was amazing. It was like a bull.
Madonna.
It was like a bull. And I really got to look this one up. It was the motion in the painting. It was the brush strokes.
It's probably him.
Darker colors. What was his name again?
Peter Paul Rubin.
Maybe that's what it is. Peter Paul Rubin.
Yeah.
And he had a picture in that museum. So the cool part was I got to take art history from a guy. He looked like Lickety Schmickett from the, you know what I'm talking about, where he's falling apart, the Jim Carrey. A little
bit, yep.
Yeah, the Jim Carrey, like the unfortunate.
Series of unfortunate
that's
events.
It. Yes, looked just like that guy. That was my art teacher. Well, we got to go to the Cambridge Museum for one of our classes. Oh, wow. And like, they're like, okay, walk around, blah, blah, pick a plane, which I had already been there like, I don't know, 10 times. All kind of cool stuff. Pieces from the Titanic, weird stuff in there. This museum.
I love it.
So got to go around, pick a painting and write a paper about it. So it was all fascinating. So I can thoroughly appreciate it. But my question for you is, what would you hope to envision, and that you've done it yourself, is when you're actually staring at a painting, right? Like you see those in the movies, right? For people that are not like really into art.
Oh yeah.
And they go, and there's these people just staring at a painting for like 2 hours.
Oh yeah.
So when you're there looking, right? You're there looking and you're like, oh, I wish other people would feel this. Like, what is the feeling that you get from staring or looking at a really good painting?
Well, I think maybe could be like, first off, like my first initial thought would be like envy, like, wow, I would love to be able to like paint something at a scale, but then just like why they wanted to paint it. Some of them are like, the subject matters are like so funny to me, and some of them had no reason why they wanted to create that. But I mean, I just like unique kind of different styles that maybe aren't obvious, or, you know, it looks like it could be a head or like an animal eating a food. I don't know, something like that. I love those kind of ones, just because depending on what you're going through as the viewer, it could alter how you see the painting. And it's like a huge metaphor. So I think that kind of thing is just really cool about art. And yeah, I mean, my sisters are the same way. They'll go with, like, my sister Jay, I think, was like, oh yeah, I'll go to this exhibit with you. Cause I'm like, can we please go? It's on Monday. They extended it.
Right.
And, so we went, and she was like, I was like really into it. And like, I feel like I learned about his whole life from just looking at his artwork. And, you know, artists are emotional people. And I feel like they do tell a story. And so I just like love reading and seeing how, like what kind of story or what they were trying to do with it.
Yeah.
So
Did you ever go to it's been traveling around, and the Van Gogh experience?
oh yeah, I did go. We went over to the one in Pensacola, and same thing. Like I love Van Gogh. Actually, like I do these paint nights where I call them paint like an artist. So we base our painting of the night,
cool.
paint and sip on a famous painting. So we've done like, I love Van Gogh. I think like his artwork is universal. People recognize it. So we did a couple of them, the sunflowers and then Cafe Terrace at night. And I loved how they were, I kind of was like mixing digital with a classic, that we were talking about earlier, the immersive museum, because like all the flowers kind of fall off the tree that he painted. So that's another way to take something hand done and make it digital or AI and entertaining.
I did not realize some of the artwork that he did that was so dark.
Oh,
like holy cow dark.
So sad. He was so sad all the time.
My God. Like you always see like, okay, the worst case scenario, the ones they show where he painted where he cut his ear off, right? But there was some like uber dark, black, heavy paint, charcoal.
I mean, Starry Night is like literally like his view from himself being in a mental hospital, and like everyone knows that painting, but there's a lot of like sadness in those curves.
I know. It's striking. So thank you very much for all that information, by the way. But I want to talk a little bit about teaching.
Okay.
And then we'll get into your business a little bit later.
Okay.
So what have you learned as far as your style, like through some trial and tribulations, if you will, trial and error, to now that you've gotten to, I would consider it proficient. You've been doing it how many years now?
7.
Oh, I guess it depends who we ask.
Yeah. Don't go to, no, I'm just kidding. I like to say proficient, maybe.
What have you found works for you? Like as a teaching style, like what works for you?
It's funny. I actually get asked this a lot, like what grade's your favorite or anything like that. And I really do try. I think the first thing is like be really authentic and kind of talk to them one-on-one. I think if you're direct but kind, you get such a good result. And I'd say that for high school, I think you could be a little bit more like, John, if you don't want to do your assignment and fail art 1, that's on you. Like I've passed art 1 and all this kind of stuff. I think you could have a little bit more like camaraderie or like, kind of talk a little bit seriously with them. So that's probably my favorite part about high school. You can be very real and authentic. And that's always, I think, my goal kind of with anything. But like with teaching, I understand that maybe art for some of them isn't their passion or their long thing, but just to respect the ideas, respect the materials, and kind of I act the same way that I would want them to act. So like really calm. I don't get mad very often. Like just really, I'm teaching art. It's literally the best subject in the whole world to get to teach, in my opinion. And so I feel like just being, not, I wouldn't say even friend, but just like speak to them like how I would speak to anyone. Like even if they're 5, they will understand and, not, and just kind of be firm but fair. And like, I think that's kind of how I've always started. I've definitely learned, don't be too lenient or too go at it however you want. But just setting like specific boundaries. Like if you guys work with me 20, 30 minutes, your last 10 minutes, you can have a little free time. Like just being very fair and then making it still fun for them because it is an elective for the most part, unless it was like a college course that I was teaching. So that's kind of how I've always tried to be. I think I've gotten a little bit better at classroom management in terms of like, I wouldn't even say discipline. I don't really I have the luxury, I guess, to not have to deal too much with discipline, but just maybe being a little more direct, I think, reminding them all that you're the teacher, they're the students type of thing.
What have you found is the most, I don't know, what I guess children have been most receptive to like during the school year in art? Has it been like, hey, we get to do clay and everyone's like, yeah, clay. And they get to learn the wheels and get with the kiln and put it in and then glaze it. One of my favorite things to do, by the way.
Yes.
Or was it more like, hey, sketch? Or one of my other favorites was using, is it the appropriate Indian ink? The black ink?
Indian ink, yeah.
So you do like a bunch of pastels and then you put the Indian ink on and then you scratch off your, like what? Are you?
I think, you can do kind of a form like that as like a batik, because sometimes that was traditionally done with like fabrics. But yeah, you can like soak it,
Mhm.
and then a lot of the colors from the India ink will mute it, but then certain colors still pop through. But you can do that with like crayon. Like I'm a big fan of that. Like taking materials that you could do, no matter what school you're a part of. Like it doesn't have to be this like very expensive, over the top fancy pencil, but
Mhm.
like how you can take a bunch. Honestly, cardboard is literally one of the students' favorite things to use because it's durable. They can mold it however they want. I love painting on
Mm.
cardboard. It's everywhere. So I think it's a resource that like using materials that I think can be used amongst the masses is my favorite style of like getting kids into it. They love anything tactile from
Mhm.
what I've learned, like clay. We're doing clay right now. We're making like pinch pots as part of like our holidays around the
Oh,
world
is that the
celebration.
coil? So you do a strand, a coil, 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 coil. Is
Oh,
that? Or are you talking about pinch, like you pinch
just
it?
yeah, literally pinching around till you have enough room to put the candle in it. But it's funny, the coil technique you're talking about, we were debating between which one just literally 2 days ago.
I
So
remember all that. I have a really good friend that was an art teacher for a while, college level, and then I can't remember if she's still teaching or not. She does some art on the side, but like I think we were in the same class, and they were doing the wheels, and I remember doing the coil. Actually, when I was young too, but you'd roll out the clay and then put it around.
wrap
And
it.
when you said pinch, because I think I remember pinching the edges together, so
It smooths it at the top. Yeah.
So, anyways, that's funny that you said that. But
Yeah.
yeah, but then like throwing the wheel and putting your thumbs and slowly pulling it apart and pulling it up at the same time
Exactly.
to
Even
make.
it out. And that's something I would like. We've kind of been, Sunny and I have been talking about like how we can raise money for like what materials. And I think like a pottery wheel is something on our list. Like they would love, I think, yeah, spending a lot of time on it. While initially the students may not love it, if they stay with it, because they always want to start something new, I guess. Like each class, they're like, let's start a new project. And I'm like, let's really take our time building one. I think they're really proud of those. So while they want to build a lot of different things, I think kind of teaching them to stay consistent with one project is something that, like in elementary school, it is a learned practice that I think it's important as like electives teachers to instruct, like taking your time with anything, an assignment, learning a new skill, I think is really important. So a pottery wheel, I think, would allow them to grow.
I remember if it was my fifth or sixth grade teacher. I think his name was Mr. McGooglin. I think he passed away pretty young, and it was like room at mill that he sneezed and blew a lung. I don't remember. It was really
no.
it was terrible. But he had a kiln in our room.
Yeah.
Like it was an art room, by the way. This was like normal sixth grade room, but he had it
wow.
like in his room, and that was like a big like he used art a lot.
Yeah.
That was his thing. Amazing though, like amazing to see that process and have an understanding, and it helped in my further along art classes and like making masks out of clay and stuff. And
Right.
I was always like, oh, it fell apart. No, it's just two pieces. And then I'll make like an edge. I was always like that person, like
Adaptable.
it never turned out, but I was like, it's abstract. So you just lean this part of the mask out and then the front sits in. Ooh, isn't that cool?
That's
Here's the back of the
new,
head.
innovative.
Yes. Yes. Now my parents are like trying to get rid of it. Every time they come, they're like dumping off artwork that what do you want to do? And I'm like, actually, we'll probably stick in the back and put a plant in it at this point. Like it's glazed.
You need that needs to be in a museum. I think that's something that even in my classes that are like paint and sip fun, people are so hard on themselves sometimes. And I'm like, guys, this was plain like an hour ago. And they're always like, you have to say that. And I'm like, really? I don't, but I think I do believe everyone has a positive element of their artwork. It doesn't have to be like the Mona Lisa,
right?
But I think that there is a positive, the time you took, how you made it shape that way.
Yeah.
It could be completely backwards, but I think both teaching in school and for fun, my events, like I think people should just embrace, it doesn't have to look just like, what they pictured.
I love it. And that's
scale.
perfect. So because this goes into teaching, like, so you've taught a lot of different grades. You love being a teacher. I've been doing it for 7 years. How did you even start or get interested in like, hey, I want to do my own business? And like, how, please tell me that story. I'm very curious how that happened.
It's really funny. So I don't even know what brought it up, but I had been talking about it for a while. Honestly, with some of my older high school students, I was like, it'd be cool to offer a kids class somewhere. And I was like, it could be like something fun to do on the side, and a way to work with younger kids. So it was Third Planet that I grew up with. Abby, the youngest daughter of the McCools that own Third Planet. And so I've been really close with them most of my life, honestly, since second grade. And so they let me do it. They're like, yeah, sure, you can try to do one in the small like satellite room.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, it was like 9 kids, I think, came, and it was my mom helping me set up. And we were like, I've learned so much since that first day, but just like thinking back makes me like really laugh. Like we had all this paint set up and we're like, come grab whatever you want. Like 8-year-olds like pouring all of this paint out. I'm like, oh my gosh, but they're like these giraffes, and I'll never forget it. It was awesome. And so we started doing like a kids class once a month, and then, or maybe once every couple of months. And then, I think, there was a lady, Kathy Schumacher, like incredible artist in the community. She was doing the adult ones for a while. And then when she had stopped, I kind of reached out to her. I was like, hey, like, just want to make sure if like, I'll try the adult one as long as, never to overstep on anyone's, and she wasn't doing them anymore. So I was like, I'll try an adult one, and I loved it. And so my first couple of like practices, I made like my family come over to my parents' house and like had all my friends. And I was like, I want to practice like with you guys as my like participants. So it really started so small. And then slowly I kind of reached out to other venues, and some that I had known, some people that I had known in the area, and then some just like random businesses I kind of reached out to. I was like, hey, I'd love to try this here. And it was so slow, just random at the beginning because I was still working full time. And then just kind of like over time, just added more people and places. So yeah, that's kind of how I got started.
So you said this was just a conversation with like some high school folks.
Yeah.
And then it just became a like
they
organic growth thing.
Oh yeah. Honestly, they were probably seniors at the time, and I'd still talk to some of them. That's probably one thing I like loved so much about high school. Like a lot of them are still doing art in there every day.
Wow.
One of my students is graduating from SCAD this semester, and another one designs jewelry. And
oh, wow.
She actually made this one right here.
Oh man. Yeah, it's a purple heart all with a silver.
Like silver. She like hand punches the jewelry.
Wow.
And that's amazing. Like seeing like their interest for it and them get into it there. And yeah, like Traveling Painter was a name we kind of like, I was like, I kind of like this name. And they helped me at a lot of my first events, and they came and helped me. They got community service for it. And
oh, perfect.
I had help to kind of
it was a win-win.
It was awesome. Yeah. It was really cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
So when you did that, did you decide like, so I want to get into more of like the business side now, if you will. So did you decide, hey, I want to do business as, I want to do an LLC. Like how did you approach that?
So, my first, I guess I did an LLC 2021 was like, this is a year I feel like I'm going to like market it more, make it more of a thing, like more of an income rather than a hobby kind of thing. And so I just created an LLC, and it's just me. And
how did you create it? What did you use?
Oh, I used
was it LegalZoom or something else? Sunbiz. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
I now use Taylor Brands. And I actually like shout out Taylor Brands. I don't know, but I found them on TikTok. So like going back to the whole marketing thing, and I kind of looked them up, and I wanted to make sure like I'm at a point now, I want everything to be correct. Like I'm not a big paperwork person. I try, I'm just not mathy or logical. I'm like way more the other space Casey. And so, I wanted it to be all legit and insured and however, so they were really easy. I filled out all my paperwork. It's all digital in one location. So that's how that's how it is now. It's still an LLC, just me. And I think that's maybe my biggest fear doing a business. I was not businessy at all. And I'm like, I don't know if I should try this. And my parents helped a ton. My husband, Josh, is a financial planner. He's really great at math and, logistics. So, I really utilize them a lot to help me set it all up. But, I use Squarespace for my website ticket purchase.
Yep. Love it.
I love Squarespace.
Yep.
And I kind of over time I learned how to like input a product. Now it's like nothing to just add it and all that kind of stuff. Working on how to take taxes on out of each thing and make it all legit and pay the right, right amount back. And so,
darn those taxes.
Yeah. I mean, literally you feel so good about a small business and then they're like, you owe $5,000 or whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
But yeah, so I mean, just like little pieces at a time, I feel like, tried to do a logo and, just like little fun things. And now I feel really proud of it and like promote it as a business rather than like a hobby. Not to say anything about hobby, but just like it is a income stream now. So
you have to set up a separate bank account and all that fun stuff as well?
So separate business credit card, got name on business debit, but checking account just to kind of only use it for that kind of stuff. And I'm hopeful also too to like write off certain things. I'm kind of still learning about that kind of stuff. So just having a person help me just that knows more about that kind of stuff and just keeping it all as aligned as I can. Yeah. From that point of view.
Yeah. We just, my wife and I just started using, which way is it? That way. Is it called CCRI? I don't remember what's called CRI or CCRI. You ever heard of them?
I've seen them right over here.
Oh boy. Huge difference. Okay. Right. Like well worth paying them what their knowledge is. So I didn't realize it's like I think it's national. And I was like, oh wait, this is national. They're just a like office for that. So their background and researches and the credentials they have to be part of that company is giant. And so I, for this, right, I want to do business as, right, even though it's not going to make money for a long time. That's okay. I'm not here for that.
Shout out to this setup, please. So it is insane.
But like, there's the initial investment of like some of the equipment and things like that. And like I had a logo. So here, real funny story, but because I don't think I told you, but my cousin actually made my intro music for this channel. And then my friend from high school is a graphic artist who made my logos for me. So it was that was a cool, like family friend.
The best part.
Yeah. Starting it up or whatever. But yeah, I've come to find out. So they did a really good job. Like I do line items. I keep all my receipts and all that stuff. And then going in, it just due to the nature of like, when you look at taxes, like you said, you're like, holy cow, like how do I do that? Really smart, anyways, I'll look up the name. I'll get it to you later. Yeah. But well worth it if you want some legit tax folks to go through. 100% worth it. So with the separate accounts, this should have been pretty easy for you, with the exception of your network and growth. How did you do some marketing?
Oh, well, so I guess I first started with a Facebook page, classic. And then
no classics, MySpace, but keep going.
Well, that's true. My top 7 would have been like some of my repeat customers. So I started a Facebook page. I have found that the venues that I work off have, the amount of people that go into like, let's say Third Planet alone. So I just kind of utilizing a immediate like way to purchase, not like go online, find it, search me up. So I've tried to create QR codes where they can just scan it. It goes right to the ticket link they're looking for. So I try to put up flyers wherever I'm at into the venues, and just kind of streamline it that way. Squarespace allows me to send out emails to past customers, ones that accept marketing. So I'm still kind of like, you could just constantly like learn new things that Squarespace even offers, like discount codes for like Cyber Monday, for instance. You can like send out an email, and I got, orders just from them seeing that there's a little bit of just a little bit of a deal, and, following along with what's going on, like the trends of like Black Friday, Cyber Monday type stuff. Word of mouth is like huge, insane around here, obviously. So probably those. Instagram has grown a little bit more. I've paid for some ads, but I don't know. I try to, when people check out for their ticket now for my events, I have a drop down of where they heard about it. Yeah. And then now I have like a really nice, I can see, word of mouth is where I should put effort.
Yeah, sure. What is the percentage, like 80 and then like 10, or like what's?
The most is word of mouth for sure. Yeah. That they drop down. And then the next one would be like repeat customer. So it's kind of the same thing. And then Facebook and Instagram are like the next two.
So is your Facebook greater than Instagram, or are they like competing for it?
I think I have more following on Facebook for sure. But I don't know. I like when
Is that due to the demographic of your customer?
I was just gonna say that like I think that Instagram is more if they were to, if they'll follow any, like a little bit younger, I'd say like 20 to 30, and then Facebook would be like 30 to maybe like 50, just because a lot of them, that demographic, if they're in groups like community Facebook groups, I tried to join like Niceville Word of Mouth, Crestview Word of Mouth, and just kind of post them in there, and just try to reach every age group I can. But I have definitely found like TikTok, I post, but that's more kind of just to like show what I do rather than like acquire customers.
I understand.
Unless it's like commissions. But Instagram and Facebook, I guess I use most consistently besides my website.
So are you part of like the Chamber of Commerce or anything like that?
No, I just joined the Cultural Arts Alliance.
Ooh.
So that's been really awesome. They do so many events throughout the area. And so by joining that, you kind of get consistent updates about what's going on. You can, I'm kind of interested in, well, not kind of, really interested in teaching, being a teacher for some of their classes that they offer, because they have a bunch of different campuses. I think, well, 3 that I know of. So I'm finally a little bit more confident to, like start maybe joining the chamber, or just, being a little bit more business forward with traveling painter for sure.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. What are some of the trials and tribulations that you've experienced? You said a little bit about, the having the paint and just sort of giving it to the kids up front. So did it take you a while to learn a little bit of sort of like the overhead with costs and how much you should charge? And then how did you, I guess, come out on the end of that, right? Like, so what was like, here's my learning experience. I went to go pay and then I only got this much in. Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, so yeah, like making money, with probably any business for the first few months was definitely like trial and error. And I'd like to say too, I'm sure with you with this, like it first started like money on, not the goal.
Right.
And so I just really was kind of figuring out like, oh, if I bulk order canvases, can I save a little bit of money here? I'm a lot more aware now. So I'd say when we started, I think I charged $25 for a kid's paint ticket. And so, now just kind of realizing travel costs, like replenishing paintbrushes, aprons, easels, paying for your Squarespace each month, like those type of fees. I've kind of built that into the ticket prices.
Great.
A lot of times, with venues, if it includes a drink, it'll be a little bit more, but then that's a little bit more that I'm kind of covering for that first one. So just kind of being a little bit more aware of that. But I feel better about a fair price for what effort I'm putting in, hopefully what they're getting out of it. So definitely took me a little time though. And then just even like palettes, I used to use like actual palettes to wash them out was so time consuming. And and then I try to save the world a little. So I'm like, I don't want to waste paper plates if we don't have to every time. So I buy hard reusable plates honestly from Walmart. They're amazing. And my water cups are from there too. Those we've used, you can reuse them for a while. A little bit nicer tablecloths, but we can reuse those for a while. So spending maybe a little bit more upfront on something, my easels they move to where my original ones didn't. So just like upgrading those to where they can now appeal more size canvases.
Sure.
But my mom came up with this trick to put like press and seal on the plates. So when you're done, you just throw away that. And I don't know, press and seal is still a little bit bad for the environment, I'm sure too, but it's at least the effort is still there. Like, we can reuse as much as we can, but that makes cleanup really nice. You just pull up the thing, throw it away, and then, just kind of getting a system working. My husband's so helpful, and my mom and dad are local. So anytime I'm really have a big event or I have a lot back to back, they'll come help me, and they kind of know, I could not do it. Oh, and they say, oh, it's just you. Like, it's not just me at all. My forced family labor.
Yeah. Oh, and you'll learn about when you go look at your taxes that if you pay them a certain amount a year.
Oh yeah.
You already know about all that?
I heard about, my mom actually sent me like that TED talk about how you can like write off certain things. And
But it's legit,
employ.
right? It's legit.
Oh, it's
So
yeah,
it's
legit.
like, hey, I want to use the system to the fullest. I just have to have the information.
Yep.
Or let me go ahead and pay someone.
Yep.
And they can tell me, and or like I put in my stuff and then like it spits out and you're like, oh, thank goodness. Like I didn't
Right.
realize X, Y, and Z. Because there's like, I don't have time to, I mean, people have a full-time job. Like you literally have to go to college and learn. I mean, it's just these huge books
Huge
of
savings.
I mean,
Yeah.
books of knowledge, which will eventually lead to
Well, yes.
someone like you getting savings.
Yeah.
So have you ever heard, like, it was really interesting. I love business through some like formal classes and informal, because my parents owned a bowling center growing up. And then like my mom owned a Christmas shop and all these things. So I love entrepreneurship and small, that's why I like talking about so much. But like how to build a burger, right? So it's interesting with how to build a burger is sometimes you'll go to a class and like, okay, how much is the bun? How much is the lettuce? How much is the tomato? How much is the labor to put it together? Is it going to get wrapped? How much did it cost to cook? And then you start going backwards. You're like, okay, if it cook, and then when I mean labor, then there's a person there. Is there other people that actually have to distribute the burger to the table? And then am I paying the entire electric bill for the building? How often? How long am I open? Am I paying HVAC? And it's like, you get it and you're like, okay, cool. So, but it should, like, in the small business mind, like then it gives you a good idea of like cost, because at first you're just like, okay, it cost me like $20 to do this. I'll just, and I want $5, head or something. But when you start doing that, you get that finite profit margin, right? Like, and it's awesome because as your price increases, or like you said, different locations, you have it like it's instantaneous. Like if I'm paying an additional $3 for the beer and I want a profit margin of 30%, boom, boom. Now I know the ticket cost that it's supposed to be.
Right.
And so it's fascinating to hear people through their journey and figuring that out.
Yeah.
And like you said, a ton of small businesses at the beginning, like if you've ever watched literally any show on TV,
Right.
or Shark Tank, the first 2 or 3 years, they don't pay themselves.
Yeah.
Like you can't, because you have to get it off the ground. Like you have to get it off the ground initially.
Right.
So I think that's fascinating hearing what you had to say about, like, I love, I love that your parents are so involved with your stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's so cool. That's
like,
so cool.
Very lucky with that. And not only like the actual physical labor of it, but a lot of the, like I don't know, like if I have a decision to make on anything, or like, should I go up? Should I like, just like, like decisions and business decisions as well, like that I can talk to them about. And my dad's in sales, and my mom and dad have, I mean, if nothing, they've taught me like such a hard work ethic. Like they've tried a lot of things. So they have a lot of knowledge about a lot of different things that are really helpful and apply to me. So it is so, I mean, that's another benefit of me living so close to them, is like, they are just a really good resource to have.
What about, did you open, like, I think you said, was it 2021? Is that when you started?
Yeah.
So was that right towards the tail end of COVID?
Yeah, it was. And like, I guess for like 2020-ish, even just kind of doing like here and there. And then 2021 was kind of where I'm like, okay, I'm kind of getting the word out more. I want it to be as, business-like and official and correct as possible. So COVID kind of had slowed down some. Obviously, we couldn't have a lot of in-person events.
Right.
And then once we kind of slowly started opening up, I had kind of been in contact with more venues. So I was like, okay, like I could make a run at this at being like a legit business setup. So that's when I did all the paperwork and then I have like small business insurance. Like if I ever were to be a vendor at a market, some of them require it, just like kind of having those things already done. Yeah. And I didn't know you needed vendor insurance at a market. So like,
I've never heard of that either. That's really cool. I didn't know that.
I only know that because when I reached out to the one that, the lady that does them here, she does them in at the Niceville by where the old Pizza Hut is, that local farmers market every week.
Oh, okay. The Palm Plaza area?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. They run the ones like in Seaside and Watercolor as well. Yeah. So she's like, well, to be a vendor, you have to have this insurance just in case if like someone fell in your tent, it kind of covers you. I'm like, obvious, like, why not? And that would happen to me probably too. So I'm like,
oh
yeah. So
I can only imagine. I have in my head, I pictured all these things. So
yeah.
Have you ever got, this is curious. Have you ever got invited to go like at Seaside or Watercolor to someone's house and do like an event?
Oh yes. So
that's great.
I do a lot of private events now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do get overwhelmed sometimes going somewhere with like painting on their furniture and like that kind of thing. That always like was a fear of mine, or like at venues, but I kind of think we have a nice setup now where I kind of am just up front. It's acrylic, it's pretty permanent. So they'll set up, where we need to
Yeah.
be for the event. And we haven't had like knock on, all sorts of wood for accidents like spills or anything like that. Obviously spills, but nothing like too damaging. So.
I think more of like, do you remember the TV show called Dexter?
Oh, yep.
And you know what he did? And then like he would make the whole room plastic.
Yeah.
Like,
there were a couple of times where I'm like, should we put like a tablecloth on the chairs? Like we have trash bags. Like I was really worried, but I think, as long as it's set up in a nice way, I mean, it's good tablecloths and aprons and everything we have. So
that's interesting. So, cause you think about it and from a business standpoint, like, especially cause taxes are important. And like your line items and what you account for is like, since you do traveling, right? And so a lot of people use transportation for it is like, whether that's the cost of your vehicle, gas, your phone, right? Cause people have to call or contact you. Sometimes it's email. So is it a computer too? Like there's a lot of stuff that people, I think, maybe initially, like I said, not only from the overhead perspective, but what am I using or utilizing that also enhances my business that, okay, cool. I mean, maybe do I cover my oil, changes and everything else under that? Because that's getting me to and from. Do I buy a car and write it off? Like, I mean, and then I get it wrapped, right? You see a lot of those folks that have, I mean, you name it, like whether that's like a termite inspecting, pest control, window screening closure, Bob's mechanic, and they'll put something on there and it's like, okay, if I'm advertising for that, then I'm going to cover down on this vehicle for that purpose of my business. Right. And I think it takes a while and hopefully not too long for that to click for people.
Oh yeah. 1 year is enough. Let me tell you, I realized like when we were doing it, Josh and I were doing our taxes last year and there were so many things like your car. And I'm like, wow. Yes. Like I drive everywhere from from Pensacola to Panama City. So like there's some treks. And so, my printer, they're like, you can qualify that cause that's what you print a lot of your samples on. Right. Like my website it's a commerce website, but you can technically write some parts of that off. Like just so many things, like a business meal. Like if we ate on the way there, dinner on the way back, try not to take too much, Josh and I, but like, just like certain things that I had no idea to even think about. And now I like wrote down every single thing and now, but I'm definitely going to go to a expert and because they'll hopefully point out those things and just try to, I don't know, just things I would never even think of. So,
well, I think it's a bit, so this is why I think it's important, right? So some people are like, money, but listen, it's to sustain that, right? Especially if the side hustle or business is your passion and you want to grow or whatever, is like, from a financial standpoint is like for sustainment, you have to know all this and do this because if not, you can quickly go under. Right. And that's a huge, deterrent for a lot of people that have small businesses, right? Is like, I'm trying, I don't understand. Like, I don't get it. Where's my money going? I don't get it. And so it is well worth, if you're not a business person, like you said, or business savvy to have, a partner in crime, if you will, that helps you along those ways, whether you're paying for them or it's a friend. And initially be careful with the friend side of the house, but like, that's where you should start, right? Like, hey, I need something. I need to be able to break these down. I'm a small business. I love doing this. And maybe I just don't have this understanding. Can I self-educate? Do I just need somebody else to help me in general? And, or do I need to pay for services? Right. Like just hands down to keep it going. Cause that's what it's about. If you started it, there's a reason why you started it. There's a reason.
And I think going back to pricing and like tickets, that's something I'm weaker at. Like I don't I want to be able to like do it, let everyone come and do it. But you're right. Like as a business, if this is what I want to do, solely one day, if it was my only thing, like I need to value that, I need to ask for this much because to make money, to cover costs, all that kind of thing. So I've learned a ton in that realm. If it was up to me, I'd be like, everyone come paint, whatever. But then like realizing, you have to be confident in your pricing and where you're getting things from and people will understand that, or I hope, like that's the goal too, that they understand that side of it as well.
Do you have a certain regional area that you're bounded by? Or is it like if someone calls you in Lower Alabama, you're like, cool, in Andalusia or something, I'm there. Is it like, hey, I'll travel like 90 miles, or is there anything that you have that's bounded?
I guess not technically. When I went and saw my sister, I did an event there in Detroit.
Really?
Yeah. So, when she was there she was working at a college. So we did like a bonding activity for all the athletes there.
Awesome.
And yeah, so I mean, I will try or go anywhere that's, but just maybe being a little bit more aware of like including that in the cost, or
Yeah.
if they want to do a deposit and then that could cover some of the travel, like having that plan already set up so that I could, if need be. But basically regionally, I guess 90 miles is a good from
Yeah.
either side of my house is the furthest I've gone probably.
Yeah, I was going to ask you
Regular
your furthest
basis.
part. Yeah. So you said Panama City was like,
Where I am, Panama City is actually quite close.
oh,
Pensacola, because I'm
right,
over kind of by Santa Rosa Beach, but
right.
Pensacola is the furthest that
That's
I
cool.
travel.
Have you ever like from the marketing, right? Because you have drop downers and everything, but have you ever had a phone call from a venue like that said, "Hey, we're interested in having you"?
Oh, yeah. So when I really during the pandemic, like once we were kind of getting out of it, I like cold emailed a bunch of venues and now like kind of flattered, like I'll have like some reach out to me to come do one.
Wow.
So I feel like the cold emails are worth it. Like I got a lot of like no responses or,
Yeah.
nothing, but I think that, or they'll have multiple venues. So like I did one here and like, oh, we have this other location in Milton or in Panama City. Would you be interested in that? So yeah, that has happened. And, because of that, like sometimes like Garden and Grain is in, Pensacola behind Perfect Plain.
Oh yeah.
I always mix those up, but it's like a cocktail garden.
Oh, cool.
And I had cold, like just sent an email out to them and they were like, yeah, that sounds great. I thought it would be like a one-off event, but I've been going there for like multiple years, quarterly.
Really?
Yeah. So,
wow.
so I think starting like small with that, seeing if it goes well, then becoming maybe more regular quarterly or monthly.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Do you foresee now with your organic growth, you ever having to take on somebody outside of your immediate family to help out?
Yeah. Like, besides my forced free labor,
That's right.
I think about it all the time and I have maybe like a hard time letting go. Like
Oh, yeah.
I want to, be the one, but
Right.
I think for sustainability, for longevity,
Sure.
I would love to. Yeah. And like have maybe even like do an internship where they can like learn how it goes. And then if they're interested in teaching some of the classes, maybe they could do that as well. I think that would be my goal to maybe grow it into something more than just me for sure.
Yeah. Do you foresee that? Like, have you ever done like a trend? Oh, 21, 22. Let's say you have like 2 years, but like, have you done like any, I know you're not the math person, but
Yeah.
like any charting out of like, okay, well, I grew this percentage from last year to this year. And if I continue this trend or even like half of that trend up, I will be at this amount. And then that's when you're like, that's the tipping point or whatever.
I would say, I mean, maybe like once again, Squarespace is like awesome at like seeing even like the graphs of growth of sales. And yeah, I feel like even from last year to this year, like on a graphing scale, it has grown a lot. So I would hope maybe even in the next like year, 6 months to a year, like at least maybe have like an intern or something or, just like an assistant to where they could like, because that's something I struggle with too, is like with teaching and then doing the events, like I want to increase marketing. So maybe doing like a social market where that's their only thing is to like promote it more consistently. Cause I don't post maybe as often as I would like to.
Yeah.
So I think in some capacity, taking on another person in the next year would be a goal.
That'd be really cool. So maybe some of your former students.
Oh, I mean,
like
that would be the ultimate dream. Just have like a whole collection of all my old students.
That'd be great. That'd be fantastic. So, I can appreciate so much that people take the time and effort and or that they have the family and friend support to do a small business.
Right.
Talk to me about your low times. How did that happen? Because everyone's had it. Sometimes 6 months in, sometimes 8 months in.
Oh yeah.
How did your family and friends help you get over that hump of or the dip, if you will, of the low times?
Right. I try to be pretty upbeat and positive.
Yeah.
Like I try to be that as my demeanor. And so really bubbly about it for like, I'd say like the first year, 2 years. But last year was really hard, like doing full-time teaching and doing traveling painter, because I was like, I felt like I was putting a lot of energy into both and like still feeling a little short on both, I guess, in my head, But, I mean, yeah, I just probably like listening to me just like probably like complain about that, just being so tired all the time. Or if I've had to cancel events, if I haven't met, I try to have a minimum of 7. That's where I've decided like gas, effort, labor, stenciling.
Seven people.
7 people at an event.
Very cool.
So
Okay.
there have been events where I haven't met that. And I feel like in my head, I feel so defeated. I'm like, and you can't think that way. Like there's so much going on. And I think through that, I've learned when times are really good. Holidays are great times for public events or like summer, but like July and August are a little hard because it's like right at the end, just like things like that. But I mean, that's probably like the lows are like, do I want to put all this energy and never feel like I'm making a lot of money? Or if I'm just tired and I want to be on when I'm teaching. So I feel like last year was just hard in terms of like juggling both. And so like my poor husband, he had to hear about a lot of that, just like me being tired and a lot. But I mean, I guess that would be the main thing. Or, a small business, if I want to do this, if I'm not into it, you can't call in sick if it's just you type thing, like taking that on, and pushing your events. And I'm not in Navarre, but I have an event in Navarre. How do I get people to hear about the event in Navarre? Like that kind of stuff was sometimes a little bit hard if I feel like I can't be at the top level for every aspect.
So it's interesting you talk about that. So, because like one of the things I had like in our template of discussion is like the trend analysis, right? And so, and one of the things I say, trend analysis are seasonal. And so, have you come to find out in the last 2.5 years that you actually have a seasonal business?
I think it definitely ebbs and flows. I now feel a little bit better about my private events have picked up quite a lot to where birthday parties are going to happen annually at every day of the year.
Yep.
Like I think that has definitely picked up, but public events, definitely I feel there's a trend on, February is really good. Gals nights, date night out. February is a great month for paint nights. Whereas like spring break, a lot of people are gone out of town. They have other activities. So March kind of dips. And then, April, May, they're finishing school. Could be really good, like end of school celebration. But summer, like May through July are really good. And then like October through December are like fantastic.
So have you taken that into account, right? Like, so now you have, because at first you're like, oh crud, what do I do? It's like my buddy Logan, I was talking to him, one of the things he's doing the same thing, cold calling he cleans like he does.
Oh yeah.
He used to clean condos. Now he like has folks that do that. He's hired folks, but he didn't know about the whole seasonal thing. So he's cold calling. Next thing you know, he's like, I didn't realize I'm cleaning. What did he say? He started out 7 or 8. And then like spring break kicked off or something. And now he's getting phone calls. He's like, holy crud, I don't have, my wife and I can't do this. I have to hire people. And it just got like really insane. And so like, do you feel more confident and better now that at least you understand that the private events have that potential to just fall into that seasonal trend? And like, now you can take that like, okay, as far as financially and all that stuff, is that
right? And I think I'm also more confident in taking on commissions, like paintings for people, or like murals, for public, private spaces like that, to where hopefully my goal would be like, if I'm not as busy in a paint event season, like having those to kind of like fill in anywhere. Or, I do have a hard time, I guess, saying no to things. Like I want to be able to do all of them, but I think that's a really important thing is like, if you're recognizing like, no one's signing up for these events, maybe it's a bad day, like try a different day, like being okay to move things around and cancel or not do them as often. Like sometimes certain venues really succeed from doing bi-monthly or quarterly. It helps the venue better because, if they have a person come to work at an event where there's not a lot of people, I want it to be beneficial, obviously, to the venue as well.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, I just feel like being a little bit more confident, being like, that's not a great time, or, why don't we do it, do it in this way, or, I think the minimum I feel proud of, I've done events for like 2 people before and it's tiny. And so
very intimate setting of 2 people.
I mean, it is good. And then I'm like, So I think having a minimum like allows, the venue to know, if not, we'll reschedule, or just, it does cover my bases and makes it worth the effort. Cause a lot of times, it's hard to work and then go to another event, sometimes an hour and a half away.
Right.
And I always want to be really positive and excited to be there. And sometimes I got a little overwhelmed with that. And I think I wasn't excited to go. And when you said like, what was a low, that would probably be it. Like, I just would never want to feel like I don't want to come and do these things because I
Right.
love doing them. So anytime I feel like that, which has been rare, maybe like one or two, I'm like, no, we got to change something up because I
Yep.
never want to get to that point where I
There's only so
don't
much a
love,
Red Bull can do for you.
yeah, or like four of them.
So as we wrap up, we get closer to wrap up. I'm very curious, right? So like I think you mentioned earlier, like painting by twist, and I know there was some big, and that was like a boom for a while. Have you felt like really like I really want to be a franchisee person that goes into that, or you felt like, hey, I just want to continue, with the LLC? Was there any like you felt like allocation of like people that started going more towards that, or was that for like bigger cities and you didn't really see that in this area? How did you deal with that?
It's funny. My uncle, he lives out in Nebraska. He talks about it a lot. He's like, if you franchised it, you could like teach, kind of like have a franchise where like maybe retired teachers that are still interested
Interesting.
in teaching classes, but maybe not full time, maybe not even part time, like once a month. And I think that's a great idea and something I'm really interested in. I don't know. I mean, I would love to obviously grow it in that realm. And I think if the opportunity presented itself and like if I pursued it, it could be wonderful. But it is similar. I like the idea of traveling to the spaces more
Because
than having
they had actually had venue like
oh, it's
buildings.
a standalone, yeah.
Right.
And so I think I am able to succeed in my just obviously be with me because of the venues. Like they're going to be there no matter what. They're, standalone venues. And I think hopefully we try to pick days that are less busy for them to get people in. And then
you're like the food truck
Yeah.
of painting.
there you go. That's their dream. I hope I'm like,
Well,
top quality.
that's why like even talking with like folks at Third Planet,
Yeah.
and why didn't you want to do that? Because there's so much overhead
Yep.
with food. Like
Oh.
like people actually have to get certified to do the food, and then I
Yep.
have to clean the dishes, and I have to cook things, and there's electric and gas and
Yeah.
all of that stuff. So it's an interesting analogy. Sorry to interrupt you, but like,
No.
it's just when you're saying that, I'm picturing in my head, you're like, yeah, because you're reducing overhead costs because you're traveling. You don't
Yep.
have a permanent fixture or
Yep.
structure that you have to deal with or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, not to say that, oh my gosh, I would just love that, but it does make so much sense where I'm at right now to collaborate because of that. Yeah. Like I'm not at a place yet where I feel like we could be 12-month worth a standalone building type thing, like make enough. It would be amazing and fun, but I don't know that it would be like the smartest business decision.
Yeah.
So, and that's another thing, like I've talked about it with Josh and my dad, like they have great insight that I overlook in terms of the fun of it, and like decorating my own place and running it would be awesome. And we could have all these different things there, but really being like, will it be worth it in the long run? Are you losing some of the fun of traveling to new places? Because the amount of people that I've met doing this, like, I don't think they would come maybe eventually, but no one's going to randomly be like, let me go out and search for this location where I think they would go get a beer and be like, oh, there's painting going on, that kind of thing, I guess.
What do you think about like sort of a in the middle as like a food truck, but like if you had a trailer, have you ever seen the Sports to Go?
Oh yeah.
And like you have your own big trailer.
Yep.
And you just tote that back, which again, not the driving part in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
But you tote that around, and then on nicer days you have like an awning, right? So it's like an inside outside type deal or whatever. And you have a structure, but it's mobile, and it's literally the traveling painter, and you just get to go around. Have y'all already considered that kind of stuff?
Definitely considered that. I think that is such a cool idea, and I've definitely seen that before. Like people have traveling art buses.
Yeah.
And,
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And,
cool.
You can like come on or they can go too. And so I definitely think that is a nice middle ground, like that I'd be comfortable taking on. I think the overhead would still be significantly less than hopefully than the standalone building type thing. Because I do think I've looked at it. I've looked at like spaces to rent out and stuff, because I would like to maybe do something a little more consistent occasionally, like in the summer, do like an art camp where every day they come for a few hours, but that's also something that I could partner with a venue on or a public location, like just finding ways to, make the things I'm interested in happening, but maybe, it doesn't have to require necessarily my own standalone space yet.
Yeah, there was a guy we used to do our ironically enough taxes in Vegas, and so once a year, this is how he made his money. But I can't remember if he retired the Air Force or not. But once a year, he would drive to, I think it's called Sam's Town, which is a casino. And he had an RV, and it was like the kind, sort of like what we lived in, but like the back was a garage, like for toy, what was it called, toy hauler, but like you could put a side by side or Harley. Anyways, that was his office. So he had a desk in there, a computer, whatever, and like 2 chairs, like the fold out chair. I mean, I was like almost going to prison, but like a visit. But anyway, so it sort of felt like that sometimes after the end. So we go there, we sit there, and like he'd do his thing, and we're talking. He's like, yeah, and it was again word of mouth grew substantially for the military community or whatever. But that was it. So like he traveled, did his business. He lived in the front half for that period of time. He stayed a couple of months, knocked out all these people's taxes, and then he was done.
That is, I mean, if that is not a dream, I think that is so cool. I know a lot of people that like remote work where they get to travel and that kind of stuff. And they're, that is so enticing at times. And I mean, yeah, like also trying to buy a house, it's very enticing. Like just little trailer is fine with me. But I mean, I feel like I like the idea of me still traveling around, and that could be like a really cool.
Yeah, I think it's so funny because in my mind, like I'm so visionary. It's like, that sounds really weird. I can picture it in my head. I'm not visionary like Steve Jobs visionary. Well, maybe a little bit. Anyway, so like you have this RV or you have a trailer, and it's all like that white, like not plastic, but you can do that paint on the wall that you can wash whatever else, like wash off whatever. And then you can actually put the easels on the wall for people to paint. Sorry. The canvas is on the wall for people to paint, so you don't have to do easels. Yeah. So there's that additional space, right? Same boat with the floor, right? So you don't have to put plastic down or whatever else. And maybe you have something that's in the wall that pulls out, and that's their
table or whatever.
What's the thing where you put the paint? You just
palette.
Palette, yeah. So the palette's like in the wall with the paintbrush is there, right? It's all there. Yeah. So like it's literally like everybody has their little section. They go to it. Here's this. You pull it out, right? Like something like this. Here's your brushes here, and like it's all a kit right there. And then like, how fun would that be?
Right. I mean, I've seen mobile bars now where they have these cute trailers and you can like rent it for your wedding.
I like it.
Thing. And yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. And people have asked me like to do private events, but there's not a location. Like we've run into that before. Right. So that could alleviate that.
Yes. So it's a dual thing because you could technically, if it was wrapped, it's marketing. So depending on the space, you go, hey, I'll show up, but I do need a little bit of space to pull my trailer or whatever, however big it is. So you park it there. So even if you're in the venue, you could still technically have it parked there as a marketing, right? Like I love that. Not even inside, but people see the trailer and painter. What's that? And you go inside and there it is. Or like it's outside, right? So like people see it. Maybe there's some music going, some like whatever. Like, I mean,
interest. I know.
It's like, I'm pumped up. I like really 15% royalty for my ideas.
There you go. I feel like that's earned. It's a really good idea.
So Emily, I think we're wrapping up. It's funny. I think this went longer than before. My camera battery. As far as anything else you want to have a conversation about, questions, comments, concerns, do you have anything that you want to wrap up with? Because I do have a question I have to ask you before we leave, but it's just my special question. Okay. But I want to make sure you have the time. Anything else that you want to share?
Oh, no, I'm first of all, it's just so thankful to come on and get to talk about it. But no, I mean, I just feel really lucky to be able to do it and hopefully continue to grow traveling painter and teaching. I mean, I'm so split. I love teaching as well. And traveling painter is teaching still. So just staying in that realm. But yeah, I mean, just really enjoying it.
So, okay. So I have some questions. They're evolving. So I'm on stage 2 of these questions here. So if you had an extra day to live in your life, would you want to live it in the past or the future?
That's a really, really cool question. I would say as much as I would probably love a day I've already had, I think, just a new day, because then I could make it whatever I wanted. It would still be special because I would feel like it hasn't existed yet. So I would say I would want to live an extra day in my future.
Wow. That's awesome. No, thanks. It's literally, like I said, my other friend came over and his was the past, right? For whatever reasons. Yeah. So I've gotten both all the time. Okay. Like it's so fascinating to me.
I'm very split. It's very hard.
Yes. It's fascinating. A lot of folks that have had family members or somebody close pass away, or they weren't able to be near or close to them at the time, will be like, hey, if I could only spend one more day, Right. And then other people are like, I've lived, like you said, right, my whole life. I got it. But I'd be curious to see where I would be or my children would be or whatever in the future. And so it's just an interesting perspective.
I mean, But I lost my grandpa just a little over a year ago, and he was just like the man. And he was in Nebraska, so I am tempted at times, like just one more day.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, like that's inevitable, and so yeah, you wouldn't want to think like that, like you had to, do anything again. So.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. So Emily, again, the traveling painter,
yes,
and teacher extraordinary.
Try to be.
I want to thank you. Emily Little.
Yeah.
Right? Not Emily Day, Emily Little. Got it. We got it. We're all there now.
I know. It's like funny now or at first, but still.
I really want to say thank you very much for coming on People Add Value Experience. Really, really appreciate the conversation. It was a great joy to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
Absolutely. All right. Until next time.
Until next time.
Bye.